Today's writing question is, the only reason why people study and work hard is to earn money, and there is no other reason for doing so. To what extent? Do you agree or disagree? Here is a Band 9 model essay on this topic. Listen carefully to how every sentence builds on the one before it, and pay attention to the precision of the vocabulary and the variety of the grammar. If you are new here, subscribe now. This channel will help you improve your IELTS band score. People pursue education and devote themselves to demanding careers for a wide range of reasons, and reducing this complexity to a single financial motive is a serious distortion of human psychology. While earning money is undeniably one of the forces that drives effort, it is far from the only one, and I strongly disagree with the view that it is. Perhaps the most powerful non-financial motivator is the desire for mastery and intellectual growth. When a scientist spends years investigating a problem that may never generate commercial returns, or when a musician practices for thousands of hours to refine a skill that earns her little, the engine driving that effort is intrinsic. The deep satisfaction that comes from becoming genuinely excellent at something. This form of motivation, which psychologists refer to as intrinsic drive, has been shown repeatedly to produce higher levels of sustained performance than financial incentives alone. Stripping away all context and reducing such dedication to a hunger for wages misrepresents what is actually happening inside these individuals. A second major category of motivation is the need to contribute meaningfully to others. Many of the people who work hardest in any society, including emergency doctors, teachers in under-resourced schools, and relief workers operating in conflict zones, do so in conditions where their financial compensation is modest at best. What sustains them is a sense of moral purpose, the conviction that their effort genuinely improves the quality of other people's lives. If money were the true engine of hard work, these professions would be abandoned the moment a better paying alternative appeared. Yet, the evidence consistently shows that purpose-driven individuals remain committed even when better paid options exist. Social recognition and the need to belong also compel people to perform at high levels. Humans are fundamentally social creatures, and the desire to be respected by colleagues, to be seen as competent, and to occupy a meaningful role within a community can be just as powerful as any salary. A craftsman who could retire comfortably but continues to produce furniture because his peers admire his work is not motivated by money. He is motivated by identity, by the need to be someone who does something well. In conclusion, financial reward is one genuine motivation among several, not a master explanation that renders all others invisible. People work hard because they seek mastery, because they are driven by purpose, and because they need to feel that they belong and are valued. A theory of human effort that reduces everything to money fails to account for the richness and variety of what actually moves people to act. Now, let us break this essay down and look at what makes it perform at the highest level. We begin with the introduction. Most candidates write an introduction that simply restates the question and then adds a vague qualifier such as, "There are many reasons." This essay does something far more precise. It identifies exactly what the question gets wrong, and the phrase "a serious distortion of human psychology" is doing important work here. It tells the examiner immediately that the writer understands the human dimension of the argument, not just the surface-level debates. The final sentence of the introduction commits to a clear position: "I strongly disagree." This is exactly what IELTS examiners want to see. No hedging, no fence-sitting, a genuine defensible stance. The first body paragraph opens by naming the most powerful of the non-financial motivators, mastery and intellectual growth. Notice that the paragraph does not simply state that people love their work, instead it explains the mechanism, the deep satisfaction that comes from becoming genuinely excellent at something. This is causal reasoning, not list-making. The paragraph then names the psychological concept behind the argument, intrinsic drive, and grounds it in observed evidence. The final sentence closes the argument by identifying precisely what the opposing view gets wrong. This paragraph is an example of a complete, tightly structured unit of argument. If this is already clearer than what you have been writing, hit the like button. It helps me grow the channel and produce better videos for you. The second body paragraph shifts to a different category of motivation, moral purpose, and it does so by using a deliberately chosen set of examples: emergency doctors, teachers in under-resourced schools, and relief workers in conflict zones. These are not random examples. They are chosen because they represent people who are simultaneously doing extremely hard work and receiving relatively modest pay. The paragraph then sets up a logical test. If money were truly the only reason people work hard, these individuals would leave the moment a better paid alternative appeared. The fact that they do not is used as evidence. This is how a Band 9 argument works. It does not assert, it tests. The third body paragraph introduces a third distinct category: the need for social recognition and belonging. The craftsman example at the end of this paragraph is particularly effective because it makes the abstract concrete. A man who could afford to stop working but chooses not to because his peers respect his craft is a clear demonstration that financial security alone is not the driver of sustained effort. The paragraph closes by naming the real motivations directly: identity and the need to be someone who does something well. These are precise, psychologically grounded claims, not vague generalizations. Now look at the conclusion. A weak conclusion simply repeats the introduction. This one does something more sophisticated. It reframes the original premise of the question itself. The phrase, "one genuine motivation among several, not a master explanation," is a direct rebuttal of the absolute claim in the question. The conclusion then lists the three categories of motivation that were developed in the body paragraphs: mastery, purpose, and belonging, before closing with a sentence that identifies the fundamental intellectual failure of the opposing view. A theory of human effort that reduces everything to money fails to account for the richness and variety of what actually moves people to act. This is a conclusion that closes the argument with force and clarity rather than merely summarizing it. Vocabulary. The first word worth examining is distortion. This word was used in the phrase, "a serious distortion of human psychology." The simpler alternative would be oversimplification or mistake. Distortion is more precise because it implies that something real has been bent or misrepresented, not simply overlooked. It carries a critical, analytical weight that suits the argumentative register of this essay. The second is intrinsic. It appears in the phrase, "the engine driving that effort is intrinsic." Many candidates would write internal or personal. Intrinsic is the correct technical term for motivation that originates inside the individual rather than from an external reward, and using it signals genuine familiarity with the academic and psychological literature on this topic. Third is sustains. Used in the sentence, what sustains them is a sense of moral purpose. The simpler word would be keeps or supports. Sustains implies something that provides ongoing energy over a long period, which is exactly the meaning required here. It also collocates naturally with motivation and effort in academic writing. Fourth is conviction, used in the phrase, "the conviction that their effort genuinely improves the quality of other people's lives." A weaker word would be belief or feeling. Conviction carries a sense of deep, unshakable certainty rooted in values rather than opinion, which is precisely the quality of commitment the paragraph is describing. Fifth is compel. Used in the sentence, social recognition and the need to belong also compel people to perform at high levels. Many candidates would write push or make. Compel suggests a force strong enough to override resistance, giving the sentence a stronger argumentative edge and signaling that this motivation is not optional or marginal. Sixth is renders, used in the phrase, not a master explanation that renders all others invisible. The simpler word would be makes. Renders in this context carries a formal academic register and implies a transformative effect. The idea that a single explanation actively eliminates the visibility of all competing ones. It is the precise word for the meaning the sentence requires. Grammar. The first structure to note is the relative clause. The essay uses both defining and non-defining relative clauses to embed information without creating additional sentences. In the sentence, this form of motivation, which psychologists refer to as intrinsic drive, has been shown repeatedly to produce higher levels of sustained performance than financial incentives alone. The clause, which psychologists refer to as intrinsic drive, is a non-defining relative clause. It adds technical precision to the noun phrase without interrupting the core claim of the sentence. The second structure is the fronted adverbial. Rather than beginning every sentence with the subject, the essay opens several sentences with adverbial or participial phrases placed before the main clause. In the sentence, perhaps the most powerful non-financial motivator is the desire for mastery and intellectual growth. The adverbial phrase, perhaps the most powerful non-financial motivator, is fronted to create emphasis and control the reader's attention. Fronting also creates variety in sentence rhythm, which is one of the markers of a sophisticated writer. The third structure is the conditional construction. In the sentence, if money were the true engine of hard work, these professions would be abandoned the moment a better paying alternative appeared. The essay uses a second conditional with the subjunctive where to set up a logical test of the opposing view. This structure is particularly effective in academic argument because it allows the writer to reason hypothetically and then show why the hypothetical does not hold. The fourth structure is the complex noun phrase. Throughout the essay, nouns are extended with pre-modifiers and post-modifiers to carry dense meaning efficiently. The phrase, a theory of human effort that reduces everything to money, is a complex noun phrase in which the head noun theory is post-modified by the prepositional phrase of human effort, and then by the relative clause that reduces everything to money. This compression allows the essay to make a precise philosophical claim in a single noun phrase rather than across multiple sentences. The fifth structure is the passive construction. In the sentence, this form of motivation, which psychologists refer to as intrinsic drive, has been shown repeatedly to produce higher levels of sustained performance than financial incentives alone. The passive voice has been shown is used deliberately. The choice of passive here is not accidental. It shifts the focus away from who conducted the research and onto the finding itself, which is the appropriate emphasis in an academic argument where the evidence matters more than its source. So what makes this essay Band 9? It is not any single feature. It is the combination of four things working together at the highest level. Task achievement. The essay commits to a clear position immediately and sustains it across every paragraph. Each body paragraph adds a new, distinct category of motivation rather than repeating the same point with different examples. Coherence and cohesion. Each sentence extends the logic of the sentence before it. The paragraphs move from the individual and psychological to the social and moral to the communal and identity-based in a logical sequence that builds the argument rather than merely listing points. Lexical resource. Every word chosen for this essay is chosen for meaning. Distortion, intrinsic, conviction, compel, renders, each of these words does something the simpler alternative could not do as precisely. Grammatical range and accuracy. The essay uses relative clauses, fronted adverbials, conditionals, complex noun phrases, and passive constructions, all correctly and all naturally integrated into sentences that never feel forced or mechanical. When all 4 criteria operate at this level simultaneously, you get a Band 9 essay. Work on one criterion at a time, bring each one up, and your score will follow. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.